I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. You expect me to talk?
James Bond.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
My name's Bond. James Bond. What a helpful chap. Name's Bond. James Bond.
Where the hell have you been?
Enjoying the day.
Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. You just didn't get to yours yet.
If we don't do this, there will be nothing left to say.
Hello and welcome to this premiere edition of James Bond Television here on YouTube. My name is Wilfred Picorelli, and I have somebody here that I admire for so many years in the Bond community. A guy who has no filter whatsoever. He says what he feels, and I like that kind of guy. And this is Mr. Bill Koenig. Bill, welcome to James Bond Television.
Thank you for inviting me. I feel very honored, and let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, we've been trying to talk about doing this for a while, and life gets in the way, and got to take care of that first. That's more important. But hey, we're here. We're gonna finally do it. And Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became to be one of the premier members of the Bond community.
Well, I'm a long time member, fan.
Yeah.
I became a Bond fan in the mid 1960s. The first movie I saw was Thunderball, and the first exposure I had to James Bond was actually the what did they call it? It was this television special. In 1965 it was a TV special.
The Incredible World of James Bond.
Yes. It was amazing. It changed my life.
Who was the guy who was doing the narration? Because I always want to know who was doing that on that TV show. Nice voice.
The narrator was a character actor named Alexander Scorby. Originally, Sean Connery was supposed to be the narrator, and then he got out at the last minute, so they were scrambling to get a guy. And Alexander Scorby, he was like on a lot of TV shows, and he also was a narrator on various documentaries. And to be honest, I think he gave that TV special a bit of gravitas that it might not have had if Connery had done it, because if Connery had done it, it would have seemed like a commercial.
Yes.
But Alexander Scorby's voice, he made it sound like this was really something serious, and
and he knew about the topic. He knew what he was talking about. That was the beauty.
Yeah, and the narration script was written by people who definitely had studied up on the subject. So anyway, like I was 7 years old when I watched this, and I was stunned about how serious this was. Like, I gotta this is something I'm gonna get in on. So
you were 7 years old when you first saw Thunderball, the first run in the theaters, right? It was December 65.
Well, actually, it was in the spring of '66, but
okay,
I saw the TV special in November of '65. So, but it was like,
you're hooked.
I was hooked. I was so stunned, like, whoa, because just to give you some perspective. Like in the fall of '65 into the beginning of '66, there were like a lot of TV spy shows, but like Thunderball gave you something you could not get, on TV. It was so special. It's like
a spectacle.
Yeah, Oh, absolutely. That, and again, I've said this before. The whole thing with the jetpack at the beginning of Thunderball, it was like, oh, like I was anyway, and the whole movie after that. But yes, but starting with the jetpack was just amazing.
Ironically, Bill, that your first Bond film is Thunderball. When I was 7 years old, that's when I'm saying it's ironic. The first Bond film I saw was Thunderball on television.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was Thunderball and Goldfinger. Back when I lived in Puerto Rico, they give it back-to-back films in Friday nights. So we're giving a double header of James Bond was Thunderball and Goldfinger. Well, out of order, but that's what
Right.
got me hooked because my dad usually we watch Friday night movies with him, eating Chinese food, and we caught Bond. And I think I told somebody, I think it was David Serisky or Joseph Darlington, that my first experience at Bond was in theater in 1977. The Spy Who Loved Me, but I was screaming because I wanted to see Star Wars. So it's ironic.
Well,
Years later, I would like to see the Bond films instead of the Star Wars films.
Well, also, I remember when Thunderball first went on U.S. television in the fall of 1974, and they were like, ABC was the network, and they were like promoting the heck out of it. And it's just like, oh, the announcer for ABC, his name was Ernie Anderson. He had like this really big voice, like Bond, Bond. It does I can't remember now, but just he was the announcer, and he was just Bond takes his work very seriously. And then you see this clip, which actually got cut from the film, where it's Sean Connery with Luciana Paluzzi, and she's pulling his shirt up, and he says, "Oh, I forgot the line." But anyway,
the things we do for England. I do for England.
yes, exactly. And it's like, Bond takes his work very seriously. Things I do for England, and it's just this was the day before Thunderball was going to be on ABC on the Sunday night movie, and so it was just.
And they kept those Bond movies on ABC for a while, years.
For years, many years, and in fact, in 2002, ABC brought them back, and they showed the first 9.
Oh, really?
And they were showing them on Saturday nights, from Dr. No through The Man with the Golden Gun, and like that was like ABC's like last hurrah for Bond films. But it was like,
because I think Turner bought them back in '91, the rights to broadcast those films and TBS.
yes, because that was part of the whole. Oh, when was it? When the whole thing with Bond and was sorry, excuse me. It was
That's okay.
It was just that was when the whole Bond thing was like going bad and was going
after License to Kill.
Yeah, after License to Kill, and so, but man, it was just. But for many years, like ABC and James Bond were like, they were all together because because ABC, the first Bond movie they showed was Goldfinger in September of 1972.
Oh my God, that was the first one, Goldfinger.
Yeah, it was like a big deal, and like TV Guide, which was nobody really remembers TV Guide now, but it was like a huge magazine. And I remember those days. Yeah. And it was a cover story. It's like James Bond goes on TV this week in Goldfinger, and ABC was showing the Summer Olympics in 1972 and
Munich.
And like about every 2 hours there was a promo on ABC for like James Bond, Goldfinger, coming on ABC, and just
tonight, you're going tonight.
yeah, it was just
There was a different time when the movies. Well, we didn't have VCRs, we didn't have Blu-rays back in those times. I mean, the movies there were reruns back in the theaters or double headers, and see that Bond film on free TV, was a huge deal back then.
In the summer of 1972, just before Goldfinger was going to be shown on TV, there was a re-release of the first 3 James Bond movies. And they showed them in drive-ins: Doctor No, From Russia with Love, and Goldfinger. And it's like, the ad said, "Spend the night with James Bond."
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Bring your loved one. And
yeah.
Be in the drive-in. Oh my God! What a different time! What a different time! And I think that Covey and Harry, got some money for the broadcasting rights. With those movies. Yeah, because they were still producing. They were on hand on everything that was going about Bond. It's unfortunate that we don't see producers like that anymore. It's another.
No, those guys they were a very special breed, and I occasionally see on like some message boards people think, "Oh, Harry Saltzman, he wasn't really a producer." No, he was a producer. He was. He the thing about Saltzman was he had a lot of bad ideas, but when he had a good idea, they were like brilliant. And he would, like typically Broccoli would bring in, start with Richard Maybaum, but then Saltzman would get an English writer, like Paul Dane with Goldfinger, John Hopkins with Thunderball. And Len Dayton was, I think, a Saltzman deal. Now, he did not get a credit for From Russia with Love, but
really,
he did work on From Russia with Love, and he was apparently in Istanbul when the crew was in Istanbul. So, so anyway, like Saltzman was very much he was definitely involved, and it's like today people forget about Saltzman. It seems to me, but like they shouldn't. So
I think that in recent years, Bill, that Harry have a bad reputation. I don't know, it's in recent interviews with people in the production that some great ideas in the Bond film, Harry just won't like it. Just example, when the song for Diamonds Are Forever, he despised that song and went on to see a big hit.
Right.
They may look Harry like he didn't know what he was talking about.
Right, and also it came up with Goldfinger. Apparently, Saltzman didn't like the song, and he told John Barry, if we had more time, I'd trash the song, but we don't have the time. And then it was a huge hit. So I mean, Saltzman was a very volatile character. Broccoli was kind of the more like mellow guy. But still, there was a magic when it was Broccoli and Saltzman, and that lasted for several years. But it was hard to maintain, and he eventually had to sell because he wanted to be a mogul for like non-Bond things. And
I heard he wanted to do a restaurant chain or something.
Or something. He was very volatile, and Broccoli was more mellow. Here's the other thing, because Broccoli's earlier partner in the 50s was a guy named Irving Allen. And he was very volatile also. So I can't comment beyond that, but it does seem amusing that Broccoli somehow hooked up with 2 very volatile guys in different periods of his producing career. So
And by 76, he said, I had enough of Boleto, guys. I'm going on my own.
yeah.
So, Bill, so you became a Bond fan. I mean, we're early than all of us. So you told me that I think I heard some interviews or some podcast that you went to the first Bond convention back in the mid 90s.
Yes, it was. There were two of them. The first one was in Los Angeles in October of 1994, and this was when the series was coming out of the long hiatus. So they had hired a company that had done Star Trek conventions, and so they had one in Los Angeles in October of 1994, and they had another one. The only other one was in November of 1995.
By the time GoldenEye came out in theaters. Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was held on the Sunday before the premiere of GoldenEye in the U.S. So, but those. I remember seeing an ad for the first one, the one in 94. And at that point, it was going to be Roger Moore and George Lazenby. And it's like, well, I got to go to that. So then
what happened?
I ordered my well, apparently what happened was they were going to give Cubby Broccoli an award. But his health was not good.
Yeah.
And so as a result, Roger Moore canceled that one. So, but it's like, okay, all right, but they still have one James Bond, Lazenby. Like I'm not going to cancel. Like I had already booked my airfare, non-refundable airfare.
Oh my God!
So I'm still going, and it was a great time. It was a fabulous time, and you know what? I really wish the Bond franchise would do something like this again. And
thank you.
Yeah, and why they haven't, you know, it's like I'm not a mind reader, so I'm not going to speculate. But boy, those two things, you know, which were back to back, year over year.
Yeah,
they were great. They were great times, and it was like if they would do that again, you know, it's like I'd be there.
What do you think is the problem of well, they don't do that kind of convention? I think not exactly a Bond convention, but integrate Bond in other conventions. Why they don't do that in this 10 age? I don't just understand it.
You know what? Again, I'm going to speculate here because I don't know, but I think it was clearly Bond. You know, there had been this 6-year hiatus between Bond films, and they knew they needed to like get people excited again. So again, they hired these, you know, this company that had done Star Trek conventions, and they're trying to like, you know, reignite interest. But once everything was, you know, back on track, we don't need to do this again. I don't know why.
You think that the producers, in their mind, Bill, think that the Bond fans are way too much sophisticated to be in convention like Comic-Con or other those conventions that you see Marvel fans, Star Wars fans? You think that's the mentality over there? We're speculating here, but
right. Well, I don't know about the Bond producers, but I know some Bond fans feel that way. There are some Bond fans who feel that this is beneath us. You know, we don't need to do this. Well, once upon a time, they did feel they needed to do this, but like once everything got back on track, they, you know, they cut it off. I've told this story before, but I'll repeat it here. So on that second convention, the one in 95, they had to change up the schedule. And so Michael G. Wilson and Bruce Fairstein came out to take questions from the audience. Well, in the summer of 1995, I was working in Indianapolis at a newspaper, and oh God, I can't remember his name now. This one author said, was interviewed by someone by the paper. Said, "Yeah, I'm writing the next James Bond movie, not the one coming out this fall, but the one 2 years from now."
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, and so at the 95 convention, you got in line, you want to ask a question. So I got in line and I asked a question about, hey, so-and-so says he's writing the next James Bond movie. Can you tell us anything about that? And like Fairstein is standing next to Michael Wilson. He looks at Wilson and says, he is? And and Wilson then kind of, well, we've talked to him, and he's someone we might want to have. Anyway, it turned out he in the end, it eventually came out. He had written something, but no, he wasn't going to be used. So,
so he was lying in a way.
No, he wasn't lying. He was being truthful. It was Michael Wilson was kind of trying to soft pedal this, like, well, yeah, we've talked to him, but like, we'll see. It's like, Wilson was not lying, but he was kind of, he wasn't necessarily being entirely truthful, shall we say.
I'm not going to give this guy an exclusive news that this guy's writing the next Bond film.
And also, this is like in the very early years of the internet. So this kind of thing had not, didn't spread instantly the way things spread.
There was no social media back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, then how was the genesis of the Spy Command? How the Spy Command became to be?
Well, there was this website. It was started by two guys in Chicago called Her Majesty's Secret Servant.
All right.
And that was they started in 1997, and I was one of the people who was invited to be a contributor.
Yeah.
So in 2008, one of them got the idea that we should have a blog and have a presence, because Her Majesty's Secret Servant was kind of like a electronic magazine. So they had this idea, we should have a presence between issues.
Mm-hmm.
So they started the blog, which was, at that time, the title was HMSS Weblog. And the thing was, I kind of like grabbed onto it. I did a lot of posts right away. And so eventually I was kind of like handling the blog, and Her Majesty's Secret Servant, eventually went offline, and, it's like the blog was what was left, and I was doing it. And I eventually changed the name to the Spy Command because there was some discussion about whether, what should the name be? And one of the guys didn't like retaining the HMSS name. So I changed it. And because by that point, it was all me. So, but I was doing it pretty early on. So anyway, that's roughly what happened.
So in the Spy Command, you gave birth to what I call as the greatest blog or greatest series of news ever. And I told you should write a book, and that is the Bond 25 timeline.
Yes.
That's amazing. You didn't ever occur to you that you would take years doing that Bond 25 timeline?
No, it did not. It took over my life for a time, because what happened was, this was in, I want to say, early 2018. At that point, what would become No Time to Die was already like going crazy.
Yes.
And like I couldn't keep it straight in my head, so I figured I needed to do something just so I could go back and refer to things. So I started the Bond 25 timeline in early 2018, just to put it all as a reference source, just so I could go back to it. And so I like methodically went through the blog and set it up. And then once at that point, then I was doing both the Bond 25 timeline and the Spy Command at the same time. And it was like, it was like crazy. It's still crazy.
Because, it is. Well,
Yeah,
fun reading it.
Yeah, and I've gone back a few times to reference stuff, and it was like, how did this happen? It was, and like I have thought about doing a book, but like it's like, okay, how would you do a book? You know, like you can't just do a book on blog posts, but like
Bill, you have a drama there, drama and history and everything on the about 25 timeline. It was crazy.
it was crazy. And also I think that Bond 25 or No Time to Die kind of represents some of the weirdness of what's going on with movies today. It's
Indeed.
very and like, so the way to do a book would be to show how No Time to Die was an example of that weirdness, that whole business. I mean, because you've got studios changing hands, being bought and sold, and
Directors leaving.
direct. Yes. Yeah. I mean, like Danny Boyle, like the whole, I mean, I see, to this day, I see some entertainment website say, well, it was delayed 3 times. No, it was delayed 5 times. Trust me, because I
Yeah, we kept track.
I kept track. Yeah. It's like, it's 5 times. And, boy, you know, I don't know. I may be retiring from real life soon. So maybe at that point I can actually like sit down and actually try and figure it out. Crack that nut.
Yeah, my dad is retiring from real life too, and he'll try to do one of those stuff. And it's crazy that something that was at a time back when Harry and Covey were doing the Bond film was, you know, I know that they have the novels, but it was so easy for them back then, and now it's so difficult. Tell me, why is so difficult? I know you have been told this before, but why? Why, Bill? It's so difficult to make a Bond film now.
I think part of it is because Eon wants to reflect changes in
Society.
real life, in society.
Yeah.
Because I remember in the middle of No Time to Die, there was this really fantastic looking fan art poster. And it was like Daniel Craig with the 2 female leads. And they're both
that was the octopus outside the Octopussy homage.
Yes.
Poster.
And they're like both wearing very short skirts. And like I remember seeing that, and I thought, my first thought was, that's a great poster.
It was.
But my second thought was, there is no way in hell they're going to ever use anything like that, because and especially, I mean, that was my thought when I first saw it. And then once I saw the movie, especially, it's not going to do that, because I mean, honestly, like, maybe you can remind that. Maybe you know this, but like, I can't remember a single sequence where there was a Bond actress who was wearing a skirt at all, a dress at all. They all seem to be wearing pantsuits.
I think the closest about that was Paloma. But
Yes,
she
yeah,
didn't
Paloma.
wear a skirt or a short skirt, but
It was a long evening dress. Yes, you're right. That's
that was
that is the one time in the whole movie you saw any female character wearing a dress.
A Bond girl.
A
Actual
Bond
Bond
girl.
girl.
Yeah. Because, Noe didn't, and, Bond's wife didn't. It was just, it was just.
It was tame. It was tame, Bill. It was tame.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think that's because of Barbara Broccoli being in charge and, don't want to use those tropes that work in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and the 90s? That the women.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly the reason. It was, and again, that fan art poster, again, those skirts were really short. I don't really expect to see that in a Bond movie anymore, but come on, they can't wear a dress at all. Just
they are afraid that they'll offend somebody.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but
I think that in Bond 26 or the next incarnation of Bond, that they should be getting back to some kind of fun adventure, not to have a Austin Powers kind of movie, but go back to the Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan vibe. I think they have to.
I agree with you. Again, not Austin Powers, but something lighter.
Lighter.
Something. One of the more interesting examples I've heard of, Bond films are you have dark chocolate, you have light chocolate. It's time for some light chocolate, because the Craig films were so dour and so serious.
Serious.
I'm exaggerating there, but yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Don't be like that. You're real.
It's time for something lighter. Just because this is the other thing about the Craig era. I would always read these interviews with Craig. He said, "Okay, we've now established James Bond is really James Bond, and so we can we can do anything we want to now. We can go and be lighter." But they never did. They never did.
You think the closest they got to a light Bond film, the Craig era, was Spectre? Some of the scenes,
sort of in the first hour, but then once they got to Blofeld's headquarters,
the lair,
whatever, it's it went to it became dark again.
the photos in MI6 tying everything together.
Yeah, just the first hour of Spectre I really liked, but then once it didn't last, and I really thought it just fell apart in the last hour, and there had been all those hacks,
yes, the Sony
hacks, yeah,
2014,
and what, all those hacks are pretty much accurate, they're just, the last hour really is bad, and anyway, just they really didn't know what to do, and then they became. And here's the other thing about Spectre was, okay, you've rebooted the series. You can do anything with Blofeld you want to.
Yes,
and apparently they did consider a lot of things. They considered African warlord as Blofeld. Blofeld was an alias. They considered a woman as Blofeld.
I thought Monica Bellucci could be Blofeld.
Yeah.
Will work, yeah.
But eventually they fell back onto, Nehru jacket, scar, all the stuff they knew. It's be honest, if you wanted to do Blofeld as depicted in the novel, in the Thunderball novel, actually, Bautista, because Blofeld was supposed to be 280 pounds.
What?
In the novel, yeah.
The novel.
In the novel, he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a big guy. And you know, and also if you look at the first times you saw Blofeld in the movies, he's wearing a business suit. He's wearing a tie, and in both From Russia with Love and Thunderball.
Thunderball, yeah.
Yeah, but then for whatever reason in You Only Live Twice, they went to the Nehru jacket, and so they went back to that for Spectre, like Nehru jacket and all that stuff. Like, no, you could have done anything, and apparently they did try other things, but for whatever reason they fell back onto comfort food. What
They wasted.
Yeah,
they wasted a great actor in Christoph Wolf. They just wasted. That script was terrible. I have a friend of mine who we've been watching Bond films for the last 25 years, and after he saw Spectre, I was in London for Spectre, and he was back home, and I told him, well, what do you think of Blofeld? What do you think of Blofeld Spectre? You know what he told me? I couldn't believe he told me this. This Blofeld remind me of Jimmy Bond in Casino Royale, 1967.
Yes. That's it. And you know what?
Dr. Noah.
Right, because Casino Royale 67 and You Only Live Twice 67 were filmed more or less at the same time. Both filmed in London.
66, yeah.
Yeah, and okay, who got the idea first for having a villain in a Nehru jacket stuff? Or did one steal from the other? I don't know. And I'm not going to speculate, but it is really weird how
it is.
Those two films had their villain dressed like that. And again, in the case of the Eon Bond films, Blofeld had a suit, like a suit with coat and tie, and why, and then applying the Spectre, why do you have to have him wear a Nehru jacket? Can he wear a suit? And again, Dave Bautista, he may not be the greatest actor, but in some ways he would have been really, he would have looked like the Blofeld as described in the novel.
Mr. Hinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah, he have a menacing presence. He was a badass. So yeah. Why not? And he wasted. They waste his character by throwing him out the train. And they should have come back in No Time to Die. But that's me. That was a waste of a character.
Well, and Bautista wanted to come back. It's bring him back. Just. I don't know. That was a wasted opportunity all around. Yeah. Because
nothing against the actor who played the Cyclops character in No Time to Die, but it would be great that in Matera scene in the motorcycle shade, it would be nice to see Mr. Hinks come back. And Bond said, "What the hell? What are you doing here?" And it would even make more sense because, like we said before, Mr. Hinks' character was more menacing, and I have a hard time believing that a big guy like that will just get killed throwing out of a train.
Right. Yeah, because it would have been entirely convincing for the audience to see Mr. Hinks back, in the next movie, because it just would have, was he really killed? No. You could accept that he wasn't really killed. Yeah. And I know that Bautista wanted to come back, and they should have brought him back.
It kind of way he worked with Craig again when in the Glass Onion Knives Out sequel.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we enter the realm now that No Time to Die has come and gone. Finally, right. We came out of the theater. So we have been waiting. I'm gonna ask you something. All this time writing about the Bond 25 timeline, all these delays. How do you feel after finally seeing the most anticipating Bond film in the last 5 years? How do you get out of the theater when you finally saw No Time to Die?
I was, it was anticlimactic, if that makes sense, because I finally saw it. Part of it was it had been spoiled for me, and I don't want to go into details how it was spoiled for me, but it was spoiled for me.
Me too.
And
don't feel ashamed, Bill. Don't feel ashamed.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, knowing that Craig Bond was going to die, I thought it was pretty good. Now, if I didn't know it, if I had not known he was going to die, maybe I would have felt differently. I don't know, but at the same time, it was kind of anticlimactic, and and here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that his version of Bond was going to die, and now we're like in another long hiatus until the next film. Like, this is like leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yes.
I mean, not so much mine, but I know a lot of people really, really, really hated it.
Listen, I was in a plane going to London with my family, and we met this lawyer in the plane. And in some way, I was reading a book, and there's a Bond picture there. And he said, "Oh, you saw the last Bond picture? Oh, I cannot believe they killed James Bond. I'm not going to watch those films. I love those films, but they kill him." And people that are not like us, they're under the impression that the franchise, not the character alone, is over. They're not going to watch the Bond films again. They're pissed.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that. And you know what? It's like, if they, I just can't believe how long they're taking between No Time to Die and the next Bond film, because they say, oh, we have to study where Bond goes. It's like, honestly, here's an example. Between May of 1985 and July of 1987, Eon changed directions. They went from being fairly humorous to more serious, and they cast not one but two James Bonds. They first cast
Brosnan and Dalton.
And Dalton. So it's like this. It's not rocket science, guys. It's James Bond. So you don't need to go on this long, whatever you want to call it, to figure out what to do. Decide what you want to do and just do it. And cast a new James Bond. And it's like, you don't want to just do it like that, but at the same time, you don't need to go off, and you're not like Moses going off onto the mountain to figure out get
a vision, get a word.
Get the see the burning bush. It's not like that. I don't get it. And there's been a lot of speculation. Is Eon going to sell and all that stuff? What? I don't know. But just if you're not going to sell, just figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, you got Tom Cruise, that one of many Bond fans says it's not competition. BS, it's competition. He's working on the Mission Impossible films with this enthusiasm and being jolly and being doing the next one. And why the producers, right now, Barbara and Michael have been doing this since COVID time. I know. How old is Michael right now? Is 80, 81?
He just turned 81, yeah.
So I understand Michael. But Barbara, come on, just give the reins to somewhere else. There's Michael's son, and I think there's another person there, another female. I don't know. Is Barbara's daughter or
She has a daughter.
yeah.
It's like I don't know all of the all of those, but yeah, I know she has a daughter, and Michael G. Wilson, he has one son who's been working on the series, and
Glenn.
yeah, and he has another son as well. But whatever, just like get on with it. Just
Then they're young. They should be more excited to continue Covey's legacy because this is Covey's legacy.
yeah, and just and people criticize me. Oh, you're like I'm
Impatience.
like I'm plenty patient. But
We are.
I'm going to turn 65 this year, so it's like I'm not. I don't have another 10, 15 years to wait. So
And the thing is, Bill, that like 70% of the Bond fans are over 50.
yeah,
And they think that patience is a virtue. We can wait. We can wait 6 years, 7 years. All we want is a good Bond film. If it takes 10 years, so be it. Come on.
yeah. Well, like I might be in my grave at that point.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm kidding, sort of, but just I do wonder if they're like by taking so long between installments, whether they're kind of they're letting the momentum slip.
I think that they think, and I heard some other Bond fans said that Bond films should be an event. Should not be like a sausage factory, like Marvel or Star Wars, that every year you get a film. Well, the Bond film began like sausage factory each year of a Bond film. But that's the argument that no, there should be a special event. There should be special. Every so years, a Bond film. So come on.
Well, there's a happy medium because it's like in the early years of the Bond franchise, they had the Fleming novels, and they could do one every year.
Yeah.
But there are also these continuation novels, and they could and there are so many out there now. It's like because I've seen these quotes attributed to them about, oh, it's like so hard to like come up with stories. Like you could like grab. They've got first dibs on the continuation novels, and it wouldn't cost them that much.
They don't want to pay the author. The author.
You know what? Well, they it's like they could pay the authors a token amount, roughly.
Yeah, not too much, but
Yeah, but because the continuation authors, they have no other market to go to. So whatever it would cost, it would be compared to like the budget for explosions and so forth. It'd be a small amount compared to that,
and they'll be happy to get anything.
right? And the thing is, so with Spectre, they finally did use one of the continuation books, but they did their best to hide it because it was the torture scene with whatever they were doing
on the needle, the needle in
the
forehead.
That's from Colonel Sun.
I read that. Yeah,
but they did their best to disguise that. So like in the long end titles crawl, there was something about special thanks to
the author of Colonel Sun.
That author, and like it's like you
was Garner.
No, it wasn't John Gardner. It was Kingsley Amis. The estate of Kingsley Amis. Special thanks to the estate of Kingsley Amis. That was the thing in the end titles, and they did their best to like disguise it. Like you had to be like really watching for it to see it, because there were so many other things special thanks they were giving to. But so that's the one time they've actually used the continuation novels for the movies. And, it's like, guys, get over it. Just, it's like you have trouble coming up with a plot. It's like you've got, God, I don't know how many continuation novels they have now. There's like far more continuation novels than there are Ian Fleming novels. Yeah. So, just do it. It's money well spent at this point. Like if you're really having trouble coming up with a plot, just go with that.
Bill, and the way things are going on in the world today, there's plenty of things to take from the real world right now and make up 2-3 Bond films.
Oh yeah, it's so when they say, "Oh, we have so much trouble coming with plots," like, why? Like,
why?
Yeah,
it's some way ridiculous, but in a way, I'm gonna say it's kind of lazy. I think that they're kind of lazy in that way. They don't want to, and I know that it's not easy to make a film, any film. It's right. Like Sean Connery said, is shoving up shit uphill. I always like that quote from Connery. But I know it's not difficult. You get the money. It's not like Eon is not a multi-millionaire company like Disney or Warner Brothers. They have the money, and they have right now the backup from Amazon to do it. And I think Amazon would like to have those returning their investment of buying. They bought MGM. They didn't buy Eon.
Right.
Yeah, they want some interest or something back. I don't think that TV show, that Ultimate Race or TV show they're going to do that, people will be interested. I mean, all the people that will be interested are us Bond fan, and the curiosity factor was what they're going to do with that. But in a way, that's leading me to my other question, Bill, that how do you see the state, not only of the Bond franchise in 2023, but the Bond community? Because us fans, in a way, Bill, I have to tell you, we are keeping the franchise alive between the years of the gap and the films.
That's an excellent question, and I wish I could answer it definitively. But it's like it's like I kind of get the impression that Eon has mixed feelings about Bond fans. It's like, well, we like them up to an extent, but not that much. And when I was growing up, you could get James Bond lunch boxes, you get James Bond games. Like now, it's like, what can you get? Like $5,000 backgammon sets and stuff from the 007 store.
An octopussy robe that I can buy. I'd rather buy a motorcycle than an octopussy robe.
Yeah, God. Like which cost what, $10,000? I don't remember. It's like once I saw the price, like I knew I wasn't going to buy it. It's just. I guess there is some movement toward having James Bond video games again, but
yeah,
but other than that, like there's not really anything really reaching out to young people for James Bond stuff.
Thank you. That's what I worry, because I have a 20-year-old daughter, and in a way, I ask her about, have you seen any Bond films? No, I don't see that. I have no interest, and I understand because of women, and I have nephews, and they have seen their share of Bond film, but they say, I rather like Fast and the Furious or the Mission Impossible films. And that's because those films have been more in theaters lately than the Bond films.
This was about 20 years ago. So I live in the Detroit area. So this was a radio commercial. It was for a lawn care service. And so the commercial, it was on radio, was supposed to be a father and his daughter. And so at one point the father says, it's just like James Bond, and the daughter says, who? And and it's like, and they were kidding, but like, that kind of cut deep to me. Like, it's like I can sort of understand that joke. Because definitely James Bond fandom skews older, and like, you really ought to, like, what are you doing to kind of get young people involved? And also, I know that some James Bond fans criticize the Mission Impossible films. Well, they keep, they're copying James Bond stunts.
That's true. That's true.
And that is true. But but like with this most recent film, the one that's coming out this summer, the thing is, like, yeah, it's like, it's that stunt is definitely inspired by GoldenEye, but at the same time, Tom Cruise is really doing the jump, and also in all these years since, you've had advances in drones, in camera technology. Yes. So it's like, yeah, it may be definitely inspired by GoldenEye, but it's a lot different, a lot more dramatic because of what's happened with advancements in technology, and like I said, with drones and miniature cameras and all that. And yeah, and it's like, you know what? Audiences in 2023 don't really care if it was inspired by GoldenEye or not.
They don't give a damn.
Yeah.
They don't give a damn, Bill. And I think that, in a way, I admire, and I'm going to the Bond community here. I admire most of the people who are in the Bond community, who are content creators. I have to really admire David Serizka. I have to admire the other guys that, in a way, they have to find something to keep their content relevant, even though they have to, talk sometimes about the same thing. And Eon is not doing anything between No Time to Die and whatever Bond 26 is coming out. Try to help them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've met David, and he does, like, his most recent videos have to do with watches and shoes and clothes. Yeah. And it's like, he's keeping it alive. Calvin Dyson is keeping it alive. Yes. With his, and various others. I don't want to, I don't want to overlook anybody, but those two in particular, I've seen a lot of their stuff, and they're doing a great job, and it would be kind of nice if Eon kind of helped out, because this happened just recently. I mean, why I say recently, like in the last 2 weeks, on the official James Bond Twitter feed, they had like, on this day, this scene in Skyfall was filmed, and this scene from Skyfall was filmed. I was like, yeah, okay. You guys have anything other than Daniel Craig you can do? And then now, just in the last week, they did do a thing with, like, on this day, the second unit of Goldfinger started filming, and they had some interesting. They took stills and they made them look modern and interesting, but like, so that's really great. But like for 2021, they said 60th anniversary of Bond. Well, it was like more like the 15th anniversary of Daniel Craig. Like, it's like, can we, like, it's like, it's 60th anniversary of Bond. Can you, like, make it broader and like the actual anniversary? But we'll see.
We'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And listen, and I know for sure, Bill, they have plenty of footage of, behind the scenes stuff that we haven't seen on the DVDs, on the Blu-rays, extended cuts, deleted scenes that just, I know they don't want to release it for free, but you can hint it. You can do something about it. They have all those footage, stacked away or kept close, and you can have your band fans. Oh, I saw that footage. That's a brand new. I didn't know that.
Well, and also you've got one of the greatest film franchises in movie history. Like, reflect that. Reflect the whole history. Don't just make it about Daniel Craig, which in 2021, that seemed to be what they were doing. And
Yes.
now some people might criticize me for saying that, but
They don't pay. They you pay. Listen, they don't pay your bills. So
that's right. That's right. And I think I'm pretty close to being correct when I say that.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah, and just come on, just it's like you have what was it? You've had 6 Bond actors in your series.
Mhm.
You've had 25 films. Whatever you do, make sure you reflect that. Plus all the performers of title songs, plus all the plus
Production designers, directors, writers.
John Barry. Like John Barry did 11 movies where he scored it. Like, just reflect the whole history. It's not just Daniel Craig. So that's my opinion anyway.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't know. Imagine if they do that back in the Pierce Brosnan age, where somebody would say, "Oh, they will reflect on Brosnan." No, they didn't. They respect the whole franchise back when Brosnan was Bond, and also when Roger Moore was Bond. And I think that no other actor, and I think if Sean Connery was alive, would love to have the power and influence that Daniel Craig had because he did.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen an actor, a Bond actor, with so much influence and so much power as Daniel Craig.
No, not at all. That is you are absolutely correct. No, it's like Connery in particular might have. Who knows what would happen if Connery had that much influence? It's like my.
He tried.
He tried. Like with Roger Moore, I think it's like I don't think he tried.
No,
like he was happy to. He was happy to. He enjoyed being James Bond, but he didn't want to dominate things. One thing that drives me crazy. I've seen some fans who don't like the Roger Moore films. And they say they indulged him. I said, indulged him how? It's like he pretty much did what they told him to do. It's like the one example was For Your Eyes Only. He expressed he didn't really want to kick the car over the cliff, and they said, well, Roger, we want you to do it. Oh, okay. He registered his disagreement, but when he was overruled, he went through with it.
Yeah, he had to obey John Glenn. Roger, we have to do it. Kick it.
Yeah. But he definitely was not indulged, and it's like I don't want to go into that because the whole.
Please do.
Well, I was going to say the whole thing about Roger Moore. I think I base this on anecdotal evidence. I think a lot of English fans really loved Roger Moore. I think a lot of American fans didn't, and I know because a lot of them were friends of mine, and they really didn't, and they just thought Roger Moore was awful.
They like too much dark chocolate, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. They were into dark chocolate, not light chocolate.
Well, Bill, this has been a tremendous chat. I don't consider this an interview. This has been a chat with a friend, and it is great to talk about these things that sometimes some Bond fans are not that easy to discuss. But it's nice to have these conversations because we love the character, and I know you. By the way, I love your Spy Command articles when you talk about Man from Uncle or Hawaii Five-O, because go to that page. It not only talks about Bond, it talks about other stuff that we love as kids, and that was great. That's great.
Well, just real quick, both The Man from Uncle and Hawaii Five-O have a lot of Bond actors in them.
Yes.
Luciana Paluzzi actually did Uncle first before she did Thunderball.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And Hawaii Five-O had George Lazenby, had Maud Adams, and had Luciana Paluzzi. So
she did Uncle and Hawaii Five-O.
She had the trifecta. Yeah. So
you have to done Avengers, so you have the whole package.
Luciana Paluzzi is my favorite Bond woman. So and
she's still sexy. She's still sexy.
Oh yeah. I've never seen her in person, but yeah, definitely. So there you go.
Yeah. And you're writing right now the Avengers in the Spy Command, the Avengers season 4 or with the
yes. I discovered that the Avengers seasons 2 through 6 are on Amazon Prime. I've been watching. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been watching season 4. I'm kind of like going overboard, but I'm watching season 4 right now. But
thank goodness for that, because I was going this close to buy it on DVD, so I have Amazon Prime, so I don't have to. Thank you very much, my friend.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Once again, thank you, Bill. And once again, let's do this shameless plug. Where we can find you, Bill?
The Spy Command can be found at hmssweblog.wordpress.com. I also have other websites which you can see. I've got the links on the Spy Command. I have a Man from Uncle episode guide. I have the FBI episode guide, and Bond 25 timeline and all that stuff. So.
And you're working on the 126 right now, 26 timeline as we speak.
I have started it. We'll see. It's kind of early days, but
it is.
It's it's like we're seeing the occasional UK tabloids. Oh, this guy's gonna be James Bond. Oh, this guy's gonna be James Bond. We'll see. I'm not.
We have seen this picture before, Bill. We have. Before. Yes, we have to be patient. Once again, thank you, my friend, for coming on here. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And you know we can find Bill, my friend. And thank you for your having the patience, because patience is a virtue, especially with us fun fans.
well, and thanks for asking me. I had a great time. I enjoyed this a lot. So I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, my friend. And we'll see you next time right here on James Bond Television. And we're off.